Okay, how you doing, guys? This is Trainer Jyms. I'm going to attempt to do another video for you guys. I'm playing 100 no limit on absolute, and I'll do two tables for now. The reason I'm already involved in these tables is because every time I go to start a video, my table breaks up. I had some audio issues I tried to fix as well. So as you can see, sitting here looking at my stats, these are my stats per table, running 15, 9, 4.0 aggression over 46 hands. And on this table, I've only played 14 hands. These are my stats on this table. Got ace 9 in the button. I'll actually raise this up before we get too involved in anything else we're doing. This is basically just a blind steal, decent hand. I can play that from the button fairly well. As we look, we have 35 on the table. This is my table stats. 14, averaging about an $8 pot. Fold 3/8 suited cutoff. On this table, I have 32, 12, and $5 pot. That's my table stats per table too as well. I'm hoping you guys can see these stats because I've seen videos before where guys have problems with the table stats or any of the stats showing up. Ace 8 on the button. I'm not going to play that to even a limper. On AP, there's a very huge amount of people that like to limp re-raise. Not that that's any reason to fold ace 8. I just don't think ace 8 plays well enough against a decent tag over here anyway at 21-10. I'll get into my stats in a minute, what they are and what they represent. There is quite a few of them, and it might be a little confusing. I have a lot of stats on my tables because I prefer them on the table as opposed to the pop-ups. I find if I put them on the pop-ups, I don't find them fast enough. They're very slow to pop up. Here's one here. I just keep a few extra things like the attempt to steals, some of the aggression frequencies, because I'm not used to using those numbers yet, and I'm trying to learn how to use them. We'll fold king 9, and that's about it. We'll see if we can get a couple of hands to pay us off decent. We've had a little bit of a run already. I played about 120 hands. The tables keep breaking up. I had audio issues at the beginning, so I've just been two-tabling and trying to find two tables that are decent. These ones aren't too bad. For AP, they're a little weak. They're usually a little bit higher in the VPIP at about 35 to 40. But we can probably deal with these fine, and they'll be good to go. We need to look and see when we're sitting at our table who we have around us. This is a great person to have to my right. Very loose. Very large stack at $156. On AP, you can buy in at 200, so I don't know if that means he bought in high or if he's actually won. But on one of my stats here, this little number in here, that 2.3, that's his PTB. It's his Poker Tracker Big Bets number, which is at 93 hands, he's running 0, now that it just corrected itself. So he's basically running even on my tables over 93 hands. Here we're just going to check this down. We're not even going to get involved. I'm not going to auto-fold because that just causes people to throw a dollar bet out there to fold you on purpose. We have a flush. See, we could end up taking down this $6. And nope, he bets. I'm not even going to get involved. Ace 4 and a big blind. He limped. I'm just going to check this. If I don't hit a flop, it's not worth playing. We're just going to fold this one out if we get the chance. Definitely have a gut shot draw now. And we hit it. So we're going to have to try and extrapolate some money now. Well, that little raise might mean something. I don't see him having much. So we'll try to get a few dollars out of him if he has a king. Maybe he has 2 pair and he feels like playing. Same hand. Anyhow, just a little bit of a rake builder for AP. Fold 2/8 on the button. We'll just get rid of that. And 9/9, we have a pair. Pocket pair from the small blind. Strictly going to play this for set value. I will sometimes 3-bet this depending on the person. 34-12 opens. I could re-raise this. He's a fairly aggressive player. I have a note on him that actually says he reps scary boards with large bets, which means he thinks he's a bit of a player. So we will actually 3-bet this hand. We're going to take it up to $12. He has a big enough stack to make this a decent play. That if I don't get the fold here, I can still play a decent hand for some money. And he folds out. We win the pot. Ace King. And ace-5, we're going to probably fold ace-5 on the button. I might open it. I don't know. We'll see when it comes around to me. We're going to raise ace-king. Nobody in front raise, so we're just going to raise the standard 4 big blinds. Here's a limp and a small raise. We're not going to bother to play ace-5 now. 38 player with a 2.8 aggression just raised me pre-flop to 12. I'm just going to call this because ace-king, even though it is suited, I want to at least know I have something on the board to continue with. I don't like getting a lot of money in pre-flop with ace-king. Most of these guys aren't 3-betting garbage, especially somebody who's only raising 8%. He bets 15 into a $20 pot, give or take, a $22 pot. So I got decent odds to call and see one more hand, but I don't think I'm going to bother. That bet doesn't say get out. It sounds like he wants me to come along. So we'll just get away from that. We'll find a better spot to play that hand. Now that I have no hands, I can show you a little bit here. On my stats, I run, the very top line is the very standard VPIP, pre-flop raise, aggression factor after the flop, and total hands. My hands, you'll see they switch color from 70 to red when they're over 300 hands. That lets me know that I played a lot against them, and I rely on the stats a little bit more at 300. And it also tells me usually that it's some kind of a regular or multi-tabler because of the amount of hands, obviously, we played together. Second row is went to showdown percentage, won at showdown percentage. The poker tracker big bets 100, and check raising the flop is just a little stat I've thrown in. Is in blue only. It's a new stat I'm trying to watch and see if it'll do any good to keep on my tables. On the next row is all c-bet stats. It's c-bet, fold to c-bet, call c-bet, and raise c-bet stats. I find that at the lower stakes especially, you really got to get stats on players because what happens is when they have a hand, they play differently. The rest of the time, they play the table as they normally would. When they get a hand is when they play a different type of game. A guy who raises the flop or c-bets 60% of the time is c-betting with a hand, c-betting with, decent draws, things like that. But then all of a sudden, you get a guy who never calls behind you. He's looking to do something different in his hand, like make a large pot, and those kind of things he'll tip you off. If a guy all of a sudden raises when he's never raised before, it usually means it's a monster. They do things differently when they get those monster hands, and they don't follow their same lines with little tweaks. I'm going to raise king up here on the button. Good spot to have it. Well ahead of everybody. No ace comes, but definitely a drawy board for Broadway straights and flushes. We're going to have to definitely take away the odds for these guys. I'm expecting somebody to maybe try to play back at this pot when I raise here. 5-3 suited, not even worth looking at. We'll get rid of it. Now, we'll see what happens according to the stats. This guy has checked. He normally c-bets with 76%. So either he doesn't have a hand or he has a very good hand. This guy c-bets only 25%. He doesn't do much but call or raise. So I would typically expect a raise from him as well. We're going to come in with a full pot to take away the odds. And then we'll see. This is a blind versus blind. I'm just going to raise it up. I'm out of position against a short stack. Now when we see what happens with the pot size bet against these players, take down the c-bet. And we get a call. He does call a lot, 33%, which tells me it could be where he normally does his draws, is with calling. So we're going to try to get a little more in here. I still think my kings are more than good enough, but I'm going to let him know that he's not drawing for cheap. We'll see what he does with this bet. If he has ace-queen, he may try to rep, and that's a brutal, brutal card. There's a check on the river, and if I look at his river stats, he doesn't normally bet the river, but he doesn't normally fold the river either. So I'm just going to accept that as the hand is where it is. And he had a flush draw. He wasn't going to call any bet anyway. He paid a lot of money to draw to that flush. We're not going to complain about that. So like I said, the 33% calling looks like that's what he does when he's got his draws. And so far my stats worked out for me. When I get down to my stats again, these were the c-bet stats. I'll go more into them as the flops happen. My next set of stats I have is my flop stats, sorry. This is the aggression factor. It's 3.0. Next is my bet the flop and fold the flop. And then I have the same stats for my turn. It's turn aggression, bet the turn, fold the turn, and then river aggression, bet the river, fold the river. And what happens is with the colors is that the red is usually a little bit more of a warning, and green is the numbers I look for to take advantage of. Green is usually good, red is usually bad.